You are in the right place. Welcome, Jennifer. From Centennial College, hoping to improve my LinkedIn profile and gain more traction. Perfect. Welcome, Christine. Thanks for joining us. Just going to give it a couple more minutes in case we have any last minute people who joined. We'll get started. We've got like 30 more seconds. Does that sound good, Laura?
Yeah, no, for sure. And we'll be monitoring the chat throughout, but if you have any burning questions, you can also raise your hand, but I will be looking at it as we go through. So you can also ask questions there as well, but it might be easy for us to get to you right away if you have your hand up, but either way, we'll answer your questions. So it's all good.
Yes. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, feel free to ask some questions in the chat whenever they come to mind. Final year of automotive engineering from Ontario Tech University. Welcome, Daniel. I am about 10 minutes away from Ontario Tech University. I am right on Simcoe Street in Oshawa. Landham College, IT student from BCIT, wants to know how to polish LinkedIn profile. Perfect. Thelma, financial planning at Lambden. Ooh, hoping to attract recruiters. Fantastic. Quality engineering at Lambden. Leverage LinkedIn to get interviews and to get the foot in the door and start working after college. Fantastic. Lots of software development and tech students in the chat today. Computer programming. Fantastic. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. All right, are you ready to get started, Laura?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Cool. Let's do it. Ooh, I guess we have to do introductions first.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Keelan Stucci. I am an employment counselor, career coach, career success specialist, whatever you want to call me. I help people get jobs. It's interesting that there's actually a lot of computer programmers and software developers in the chat this evening because in my day job, when I'm not working with Devant, I actually work at a private career college that teaches web development. So I spend my whole day working with students looking for jobs in web development and looking for jobs in tech. So I will try to sprinkle in some software advice in here as well throughout the evening. And I will pass it over to the lovely Laura to introduce herself.
Great, thank you. So yes, I'm Laura. I did the career development program at Conestoga. I have some background in student affairs and services from George Brown College. I also did a lot of employment counseling for people with disabilities, which is my background. And yep, I've been at Devant for almost 1 year next month. So yay.
Nice, exciting. All right, Laura is going to start us off. I will be monitoring the chat for any questions, and then she'll pass it back over to me. Take it away, Laura.
Perfect. So, yeah, so at Devant, we help students and graduates to get hired in Canada. So there are over 25,000 job seekers from across Canada. 500 plus live expert career development events since 2019 have been put on, so it's great. And then over 30 Canadian employers with active job opportunities are actively looking right now with us. So it's a good resource for sure. Okay, so just when we get started, it's an interactive workshop. So we encourage you to turn on your microphones and cameras, but don't worry if you're not comfortable, it's completely fine. The chat is open. So ask your questions or raise comments or any questions in the chat, or just you raise your hand in general. The session is being recorded just so you guys have a copy of it later to refer to. And then our future sessions are also listed under the events tab in the Devant portal. So take a look at those to see what we have coming up.
I'll set a question in the chat to see if the session is being recorded and if it's going to be sent out afterwards. Yes, I believe it is sent out via email afterwards to whatever email you registered for the event at. Also, Devant has a Facebook page that we'll post a little bit later at the end of the session, but all of the recordings are also posted in the Facebook group. So if you ever do not attend a record or a session, but you still want to watch it, pop on the Facebook group because they're all uploaded there.
Perfect. Thank you. So our agenda today is we're going to start talking about how employers use LinkedIn. So we're going to get some us thinking about ideas and things like that. In part two, we're going to think of go over the components of a LinkedIn profile. So Keelan's going to help us go over with that, and you can raise any questions you have in that regard then as well. We talk about making connections and things like that on LinkedIn too. We have a live LinkedIn review. And then at the end, we also have a question and answer section. So if we missed anything or you have any like extra questions, we can cover those at the end as well. Perfect. So, can anyone think about how LinkedIn can help you with your job and career search? You can comment in the chat, or you can raise your hand too. That's totally fine as well. We're open to anything.
Networking, yes, for sure.
Great.
I'm looking to the side because I have two monitors, so I'm not paying attention. I promise when I'm looking this way, I am reading your messages in the chat. Kind of like an online resume. Ooh, yes, I like that. I like that wording. Interactive app, for sure. I like thinking of it as like an online resume or like an extended version of your resume.
Yeah, exactly. You can go a little further into it, which is kind of nice. Further explanations are good sometimes.
Awesome. All
Yeah.
right.
So it's a good place to, yep, get in touch with recruiters, keeping updated with companies. I also put, because I came up with ideas too, so just about your own branding as well. So that's something to keep in mind, just with the banner in the back and some of the content that you post as well. Selling your skills, absolutely. So you can add up to 50 of them, and we suggest that you add basically as many as you can and that are relevant. That's a great tip. What else do we have here? Yep, so I just put creator mode as well. Oh, wow,
Mm.
that's awesome. That's great.
Nice, Noelle. Fantastic.
See, it's useful. So,
Awesome.
yeah. And we'll tell you how to make it even more, your profile more attractive and more accessible to recruiters. So, yep, that's coming up too. So we're going to talk about how employers use LinkedIn a little bit more. So first, they use LinkedIn as a professional database to source candidates to fill vacant positions. So it's a convenient location for them to just look for a lot of people in a relevant industry. And then the second is to learn more about you if they are considering interviewing you or sending you an offer. So as someone said before, having those skills up there and all your different work experiences and things like that make it really useful. And we're going to talk about keywords later and things like that, so it can actually be a little bit more attractive to recruiters and employers.
Nice. Actually, I can confirm this, number two, right now. The company that I'm currently working at is hiring another person that will essentially have the same role as me. And today, our manager sent us kind of like a short list of resumes. She sent us, I think it was about 7 resumes of people who she's considering interviewing. And I basically glanced at their resume really quickly and then went straight over to their LinkedIn. Because, in my opinion, LinkedIn can tell me a lot more about you than your resume can. Your resume is kind of like a condensed version, your LinkedIn is more of an extended version. So I can confirm just today, a few hours ago, I was looking at people's resumes and then like immediately hopping over to their LinkedIn to find out more about them.
Nice, for sure. And yeah, thank you, Daniel, for commenting as well. It sounds good. It's a very good resource, definitely. So, yeah, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, recruiters source candidates by searching for industry keywords. So typically, skills, job titles, and locations. So basically, if you're in a specific type of marketing, so digital marketing, let's say you want to say exactly digital marketing, you don't want it to be too open-ended, right? So you want, if someone's looking for a digital marketing position, they want to be able to find you right under digital marketing. So that's an example of that. Industry keywords are the foundation of your profile and increase your chances of showing up in more search results. So a lot of different like recruiters and employers have the option to type in the desired skills that they're looking for. And then if you have a lot on your profile, your name's going to come up before someone else who has less, let's say. So very important for sure.
Yeah, and I'll show you this a little bit in real time as well when I hop over to LinkedIn.
Perfect. Thank you. So you find industry keywords by searching through job postings. So you could go on to monster.ca, you can go on to Indeed or the LinkedIn job postings. I'd say to look at least 6 when you're trying to find keywords and look at the similarities between them. So for Keelan and I, I've always gone through the career development job descriptions, and communication skills are always like one of the top things because obviously we have to be able to talk to our clients, and we have to be able to create resumes and cover letters, so written and verbal communication skills. So that's always going to be one thing that's in there as well. Interpersonal skills is always something that's there because you have to be able to connect with clients in order to make sure that they're getting the best service as well. Did you have anything to add, Keelan?
No, I am a big fan of going through job postings to try to find industry keywords. I agree with you. I would do at least 6, maybe even like 6 to 10. You just want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is filled with keywords that are consistently popping up in the job postings of the jobs that you're targeting, because you can guarantee that those are the keywords that recruiters and hiring managers are searching for when they're looking for people on LinkedIn. And also try to include a good mix of soft skills and hard skills in your LinkedIn profile. So by soft skills, I mean things like communication, like Laura was saying. That is a good one. That is always in job postings, like communication, time management, organization, customer service. Those are examples of soft skills. They're almost kind of like personality traits. And you also want to include some hard skills. Hard skills are going to vary depending on the industry you're in. If you are a software developer, that might be things like JavaScript, C++, Python, HTML, CSS. If you're a graphic designer, that's probably going to be things like Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, Figma. So like technical skills, hard skills, any type of software you have, depending on your industry, that's going to be something that you want to include in there as well. For somebody like Laura and me, the hard skills would probably be more things like resume critique, LinkedIn profile critique, conducting mock interviews. Like those are more hard skills versus soft skills would be like friendly, polite, approachable, things like that. So a good mix of hard skills and soft skills. When I hop over to LinkedIn, I'm going to show you exactly where you can put these keywords throughout your profile, because there are many, many places where we can put them and where we should be putting them.
So that's a very good question for sure.
Awesome. Okay. Without further ado, let's actually hop over to LinkedIn. So give me 2 seconds. I'm going to hop over to LinkedIn and share with you the key components of a LinkedIn profile. Let's start with mine, and then I'll hop over to somebody else's as well. So I'll give you a couple examples. Give me a
And yeah,
second.
you can actually start adding keywords like right from the beginning, which is great. So like right in your title, about sections and the skills sections, you can almost like put them in anywhere. So it's actually good to be creative because you also don't want it to be too clustered and full. But yeah, having it scattered throughout is really important too. And Keelan will show you where you can do that throughout.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Laura. Okay, this is my LinkedIn profile. I am logged in as myself. So when you go to your own LinkedIn profile, this is kind of what it'll look like. Let's walk through. I want to walk you through like the main components first. And as I go through them, I'm also going to be talking about where you can sprinkle in those keywords, okay? Number 1 is profile picture. This is a very, very, very important part of LinkedIn. We want to choose a photo that looks like you, a recent photo. Try to make it a high resolution image. We don't want it to be blurry. We want you to ideally be the only person in the photo, like no photos with like friends. Like we want them to know which one is you in the photo. And your face should be the focus of the photo. So like you can see myself, you can see these people and the people also viewed. You can see that it's like a headshot, like kind of like shoulders up is what we want the photo to be. And you're going to want to choose the right expression. I say the right expression because depending on your industry, that expression might vary. I have chosen a photo where I'm smiling because I personally would like to present myself as being somebody who's like friendly, approachable, somebody who people feel comfortable reaching out to, because a huge part of my role is working with clients and working one-on-one with people. So I want to come across as somebody that is friendly. If you are a lawyer or if you are an accountant, you might want to choose a more serious expression for your LinkedIn profile. You might want to come across as like more professional, give more serious professional vibes, right? Like if you went to somebody's profile and they were an accountant and they had a photo smiling as large as I am in this photo, would kind of be like, wow, this person really loves accounting, right? Like the vibes might just kind of be a little off. So I specifically say choose the right expression in your photo, because what you think is the right expression, the image that you're trying to portray to people might vary. Okay, so you don't necessarily always have to be smiling. If you want to come across as more professional, that's good.
And
Whatever
a
you
good
think
way
is the
to,
best.
oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Caitlin,
no,
on
go
this,
ahead.
jumping quickly. So a good way to gauge that too is to go through your connections and see what their photos are like as well, just to get an idea. But yeah, that's a really good point for sure.
Yeah, you can see that people are also all career development people, and you can see lots of like big smiles, very approachable. So that's kind of the general vibe for our industry. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is what is called the headline on LinkedIn. So that is this little bit right here that is right under your profile picture. Headline is incredibly important. You have about, I think, 120 characters for your headline. As you can see, you can include emojis to make it stand out a little bit more. And as you can see, when you're scrolling through LinkedIn, if we go over here back to the people also viewed, you can see that the only thing I see when I'm scrolling through LinkedIn, I only see their name, their photo, and their headline. So that's why headline is so important. We want your headline to grab attention, and we want somebody to read your headline and be like, hey, I want to learn more about that person, right? You can also see that you get 120 characters, but at a certain point in the preview mode, it cuts you off. So you want to make sure that the thing that they want to know, like you want people to know most about you is in the first little bit, okay? This is also a really great opportunity to plug in those keywords. So for example, I've got resume in here, I've got career changers, I've got transition, I've got tech. As you can see, it is my career goal to work with people specifically in the tech industry, and I've plugged in a lot of those keywords. You can also see that I provide resume services and resume writing, which is why I put resume writer in my profile, because I want people to reach out to me and give me money to write their resumes. Okay. If you're in a different industry, like for example, if you are in software engineering, you might want to put like software engineer and then put your tech stack. So like Java, C++, Python, HTML. So good mix of hard skills and soft skills in your headline is a good idea. And don't be afraid to use some emojis to help it stand out. Okay. Next section I want to show is this about section. Super, super important. Can also sometimes be called the summary section. I think for this one you get 2,000 characters, so it's pretty lengthy. You've got a lot of space. I wouldn't actually recommend using all 2,000 characters because a lot of people will not read that much. But this is also a place where you can start plugging in those keywords. So you can see I've got career success specialist, I've got resume writer, I've got workshop facilitator, all keywords that are often listed in career services or career coach job postings. I've got a lot of keywords in this section. I specifically added the skills section here and a list of bullet points so I could plug in as many keywords in my about section as possible. So of course, it shows what I can do. It shows what I'm interested in and passionate about, but it's also a great opportunity to plug in keywords. So here I've got resume, cover letter writing, interview preparation, mock interviews, workshop development, workshop facilitation, salary negotiation, labor market research, etc., etc., etc. These are all keywords that recruiters might type in their search engine to look for people who can be career coaches. So I've plugged in as many keywords as I could think of into my about section, okay? When you're writing your about section, there's a few formats that you can use. I have chosen the format of like who I am, what I do, what I'm interested in next, right? So I've done a little bit of it like, this is who I am, this is my current role, this is what I currently do in my role. This is what I want you to do as next steps. So I've made it pretty easy for people to reach out to me. I've like, if you just want to chat, here's some things that I'm interested in. I've gotten tons of messages of people like asking me about my cat, which I love. I always love talking about my cat. So things like this. If you're currently looking for a role, you might want to say, like, I'm interested in my next role as an XYZ, and invite people to reach out with you and connect with you. Some sort of call to action to end off this about section. We've got our experience section, which is super important. We want to make sure that we're not just putting the job title and the company. We want to make sure that we're filling this with bullet points. And again, you guessed it, another fantastic place where you can plug in keywords into this section. And the last place I'm going to talk about, just for the sake of time, that you can plug in keywords is actually the skills section. So you can add up to 50 skills, as Laura mentioned earlier. I would definitely recommend including as close to 50 as you can. You can see that I have 44, 45, 46, 47, so I'm almost at 50. I have taken advantage of how many skills you can add. And that's because you never know what skills a recruiter is going to search for. So you want to make sure that you're including as many as possible, just in case they search for something that you wouldn't expect, right? So we just want to make sure we include all 50 or as close to 50 as we can. You can reorder these skills by clicking this little pencil. So when you add them, they'll just be in random order. You can see that when you visit somebody's LinkedIn profile, it automatically just shows you the top 3, but you can reorder these so you can choose which 3 are listed in your profile. And again, this is a perfect place to plug in those skills and plug in those keywords. Now let's pretend I'm a recruiter and use LinkedIn to try to source people for a potential job that, let's say, I'm pretending to hire for. Can somebody come in the chat and give me an example of a job? Any job that you would like. Just need an idea. Web developer, perfect. That is something I'm familiar with. Okay, so let's say I'm a web developer. I want somebody who knows JavaScript. I'm going to go to the search box. I'm going to type in JavaScript, okay? That is a keyword that I'm looking for. I need to hire somebody who knows JavaScript. So I'm going to search that in the box. I'm going to click people, and you can see a couple things. You can see that people who have JavaScript based in their profile are coming up first, but also people who I have a lot of mutual connections with are coming up first. So LinkedIn strategically gives you people who you have more mutual connections with first, which means the more connections you have, the more likely you are to have mutual connections with a recruiter or a hiring manager. So this is why it's really important to build out your connections. You can also see that JavaScript is coming up in a lot of places in these people's portfolio or in these people's profiles. So this person has it in their current job. This person has it in their certifications. This person has it in their skills section. This person looks like they have it in their experience section. This person has it in their summary. Another thing that depends where you're showing up in this list is the amount of times you have the keyword in your LinkedIn profile. So I would bet that Sienna is coming up very high because 1, I have a lot of mutual connections with her, but 2, she probably has LinkedIn in multiple places throughout her profile, or sorry, she probably has JavaScript in multiple places throughout her profile. So LinkedIn is pulling her because she has repetition of the keyword that I'm searching for. So do not be afraid to put the same skill in multiple places throughout your resume. For example, in your headline, in your summary section, in your experience section, in your skills section. I promise you that I have like resume writing in every single one of those sections on my LinkedIn, okay? So don't be afraid to do repetition as well.
Just make sure you recraft the
Yes.
sentence though, because you don't want to put the
Yes.
same one over and over again, but
You
that's
don't
a
want to
great
copy and
point.
paste.
Exactly.
Yeah. You got it. Thanks, Laura.
No problem.
I want to show you, actually, let's say, do we have any questions about anything that I've just said or anything specific that you'd like us to cover next?
No, it's a lot of information, but if you also don't have anything, we can come to it at the end as well. So
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Okay. Let me do a very quick example of a LinkedIn profile of a career changer. Okay. This is This is my husband, so I'm using him as an example because he will not mind if I use him. And also, I know his LinkedIn profile is good because I made it. Okay, so he's a web developer. He is currently searching for work as a web developer. You can see as soon as we come to his profile, we know he is a web developer. His banner's got code. He's got web developer here. He's got some of his tech stack in his headline. He's got the open to work banner. We know that he is a web developer, okay? His about section is a little bit different than mine because, again, he is a career changer. So I've structured it as present, past, instead of mine, where I focus on like my experience first. So he's talking about how he's a web developer. He's talking about his tech stack. He's going into what he did pre-web development, connecting those soft skills. And then again, that list of skills so we can plug in some keywords. Same thing with that skills section down here. Tons and tons of skills related to web development because these are definitely skills that we are seeing over and over again in web development postings. Another thing that is not on my LinkedIn profile that could be on yours, depending on your industry, is this project section. So if you work in web development, you probably have a lot of websites that you want to show people. And LinkedIn has this optional project section that you can use to include projects. I could probably fill this with like resumes or something like that and do like examples of resumes that I've done in the past or like examples of workshops that I facilitated in the past. But I think it works a little bit better if you have like a website to share or like an article that you've written or a book that you've written, a video that you've made on YouTube. These are things that you can add in that project section. And again, of course, we're plugging in those keywords in this section as well. Okay, so just wanted to give you an example as well of more of somebody who's looking to make a career change versus somebody who is more established in their career and what that LinkedIn can look like and how it looks a little bit different.
So yeah, you can also do there's a creator mode as well on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So that's another place you can add projects to, but I love that there's an actual projects place as well. So you can take advantage of both of those, but that's great.
I will show you how to add that as well. So if you go to your profile, you can go to, ooh, here it is. So it's right on your homepage, add profile section. You can see that you need these core sections. So like education, position, skills, those are the core ones that they recommend. But there's also tons of recommended sections, things like courses, licenses, and certifications. You can add a featured section. So anything that's featured is going to come up right at the top of your profile. And additional, so things like publications, honors and awards, even test scores, languages that you know, volunteer experience, tons and tons of things that you can include on your LinkedIn profile, depending on your industry and depending on what you want to highlight to somebody.
Perfect. So we have a question just does it work like a profile? So actually, yes, it can, but you can also make a profile to like an e-portfolio online as well. So you can
Yeah,
have both, but yes, it can act as that as well for sure.
yeah. The web developer students that I work with, I definitely recommend that they have like their own portfolio website in addition to their LinkedIn portfolio.
I had to
Awesome.
make one for my program. I'm not sure if you had to as well, Keelan.
No, I didn't, but I had a friend
Okay.
who went to Conestoga who had to make one for hers as well. Yeah. Okay, let's hop back to these slides. We've got 30 minutes left. I want to make sure we have lots of time for questions at the end. Now let's talk about making connections. I'm sorry if you can hear my cat screaming in the background. She always does this. She is mad at me because I've been working all day and not giving her attention, so that is why she's yelling. Okay, let's talk about making connections. Who you should connect with on LinkedIn. Give me some ideas. Who do you think you should connect with on LinkedIn? Give me some ideas in the chat. Or who have you connected with on LinkedIn in the past? Recruiters, yes, absolutely. You can connect with recruiters. You can connect with peers for sure. Same technology people, yes, absolutely. People who are in the same industry as you, absolutely. That's a great one. Classmates, yes. People in the profession that you want to be in, 100%. People who work in the role that you wish to work for, yes. Do you think that you need to actually know somebody or have met somebody before you add them on LinkedIn? Yes or no? Do you need to know the person that you're adding? Perfect. Yes, that is correct. You do not necessarily need to know the person that you're adding on LinkedIn before you add them, because that is the point of LinkedIn, to make new networking connections with people who you otherwise maybe would not have met. So, awesome job, friends. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about who we can connect with. You've got most of these. I think you've got peers, friends and family, classmates, industry leaders and employees who work at places that you'd like to work or who work at industries you'd like to work in. You've got most of these. A lot of you I know are students, so people like professors, other support staff from your school, like a guidance counselor from your school, anybody who you work for, who you have been taught by at school, TAs, like teaching assistants, people like that are great. Former coworkers, like people you used to work with, as well as current coworkers, people who you currently work with. You got classmates, but also alumni. So not necessarily people who currently go to the same school as you, but people who went to the same school as you before, or maybe people who did a similar program as you before. You can actually find this by going to any page on LinkedIn of the university or the college. So for example, I went to McMaster. If I go to the McMaster page and I go to the alumni tab, every education page on LinkedIn has an alumni tab, and you can actually filter it. So let's say I only want people who were there at the same time as me, so I can put in like the year I started and the year I graduated, and I only want people who also studied labor studies. I can put that in the search box. So very cool feature for college and university pages on LinkedIn. Friends and family, I think y'all said. Industry leaders and employees, places you'd like to work, y'all definitely said. But also new connections you meet at networking events like this one. So if anybody would like to grow their network, please feel free to share your LinkedIn URL in the chat and start connecting with each other. You already have something in common. You have attended this event. You are all looking to improve your LinkedIn profiles. And remember, like I showed you, the higher LinkedIn profile, or the more mutual connections you have with somebody on LinkedIn, the more likely you are going to show up in their LinkedIn searches. So grow your network. Perfect, they're coming in. Thank you, Laura. Laura just posted both of our LinkedIn links for you to add us. We will be happy to accept. Laura, you had a really great idea earlier about how to expand your connections. Do you want to share it?
Yeah, sure. That's great. So, yeah, Keelan and I were talking a little bit about this, and one thing I know, especially when I was first starting out, is to look for connections that your connections already have, which sounds a little bit wordy, but example would be if I'm just starting out and Keelan is someone who was a classmate or someone I knew from this job, for example, I could always click on her profile and I can actually see what connections she has. So I could see if they're useful to me or not as well, which is something I did quite a lot. Friends and family is really good too. It's just you want to be careful if you're getting endorsements from them. So, for example, if I'm getting one from my sister, she has the same last name, so it can almost look a little bit like nepotism, which means that it's not really an objective view. So you just want to be careful of that too. But great connections for sure.
That's funny. I never thought about that. You're right. If you're getting like endorsements or like recommendations from people on LinkedIn, they have the same last name. It's probably going to be pretty obvious that they're a family member. No, but definitely looking at like the connections of your connections is great. And some people will have their connections private on LinkedIn, but most people have them public. So if you go to somebody's page, it'll say like 500 plus connections. If you click on that number, it'll take them to like a list of all the people that they're connected with. And then you can connect with those people, and they are going to be much more likely to accept your connection request because you'll have a mutual connection in common. Awesome. All right. Let's talk a little bit about some key rules when messaging a new connection on LinkedIn. So, if you do not know this already, when you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, when you click connect, you'll have an optional option to attach a note to the connection. You have 300 characters to attach a note. I always recommend that you do this. It's going to greatly increase your chances of getting an approved connection request, but it will also automatically start a private message thread between the two of you. I have over 500 connections on LinkedIn, and I have not talked to probably like 95% of them because they just send me a connection request, I accept it, we never have a conversation. The other day, so one of my friends was applying to a job, and she was like, hey, I recently applied to this company, and I noticed that on LinkedIn you were connected with this person who works there. Can you let her know, can you put in a good word for me? And I was like, I have no idea who that person is, and I've never talked to them in my life, right? Like, I'm connected with them on LinkedIn, but we've never had a conversation. This is a really good way to change that and actually make genuine networking connections with the people that you connect with on LinkedIn. So like I said, when you send the connection request, attach a note, and then as soon as they accept your request, it'll automatically start a DM thread between you, and they will reply to your note, and then the conversation starts. So you actually know them instead of just having them as a connection on LinkedIn. Number one thing is to create a custom message and avoid just generic copy and paste messages. If you just say, hello, ma'am, I'm excited to connect with you, and that is it, they probably will not respond to your message because it's not personalized. It's just copy and pasted. They might say like, thanks for connecting or something, and then the conversation is over. It's like it didn't happen at all. So let's talk about like what to say when you are actually adding somebody on LinkedIn. We used to have examples in here, but I think they have been deleted. So we will just do it manually. What we want to include when we are reaching out to a new connection on LinkedIn is something like, hey, so-and-so, my name is this. I recently graduated from the career development program at George Brown, and I noticed that you took that program too. Would you be open to having a 10 to 15 minute conversation with me about any advice you have for somebody who is looking to start a career in the field of career development? That would be an example of a message that somebody would send to me that I would think was perfect, personalized. They obviously did some research into me. They saw that I went to George Brown. They saw that I took the same program as them. They've taken the time to write me a personalized message. So I'm going to respond. And of course, I would be happy to spend 10 to 15 minutes talking with them. Versus if somebody sends me a connection request that says, hello, I would like to connect. I will probably accept it, and I might message them back and be like, happy to connect. But like, that's it. Like, I don't really know what else to say because they didn't tell me anything. Another bad example of a connection message to send is saying something like, hey, Keelan, I am a current student in the Career Development Practitioner program at George Brown. I noticed that you also went there. But that's it. I might say like, hey, so-and-so, I hope you're enjoying the program. Thanks for connecting. But that's the end of the conversation. Like, there's no call to action. There's no ask. If they would have said, like in the first example, would you be open to having a 10 to 15 minute conversation with me about what it's like to work in career services? Then the conversation continues, and I kind of know what they're looking for, and I'm able to give them a little bit more information. Or if they ask me a specific question, like, do you have any resources or courses that you recommend for somebody who's looking to be a career development professional? I would come back and give them advice. If they're a little bit too broad or a little bit too general, and they just say something like, hey, can you give me general advice about what to include on my resume? I don't really know what to do with that because, like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what type of role you're looking for. I don't know what your past work experience is. So overall, when you're sending a connection request to somebody, make it personalized. Do a little bit of research into their profile, make a personal connection so they know that you are reaching out to them specifically and you've written this message just for them. Give them a little bit of info about yourself and why you're reaching out. So, like, I'm currently a student at ABC College studying XYZ. I noticed that you also studied XYZ at ABC College, something like that. Try to make a personal connection. And then some sort of flexible ask. So, do you mind if I ask you a few questions about what it's like to work in your field? Do you mind if we hop on a 10-minute call and I can ask you some questions about what it's like to work at your company? Those are flexible asks. You're not asking too much of somebody. However, if you reach out to somebody and you say, hey, can you give me a free resume review? They're probably going to say no because that takes a lot of time. That's going to take like an hour out of their day, which is a lot more than just like a 10 to 15-minute chat. So we want to make some sort of ask, but we want to make sure that ask is not too much or too demanding of their time. Does that make sense? Thank you, Laura, for summarizing
You're
my
welcome.
rambling. Message
No,
should
no, that
be
was perfect. That was good.
personalized, specific, and concise. Yes, and have some sort of ask so the conversation doesn't just end. Like some sort of conversation starter in there. Thank you, Laura.
No problem. But yeah, no, that was perfect. The outline is great. You don't want to give anyone your life story, but yeah, you do want to make some connections by being personal as well. So I thought that was a good example for sure.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Whew. That I think is actually it. And then the rest of the 10 to 15 minutes will be for specific questions. We do want to share with you some of our favorite LinkedIn tips though. So Laura, do you have any favorite LinkedIn tips that you'd like to share while I post the free resource in the chat?
Yes. So one of the ones that I mentioned, I think it was 2 weeks ago, it's my favorite for like growing your network for sure, is actually going onto your student portal. Whatever it may be. So it could be Blackboard for some people or Avenue to Learn. If you go to McMaster or someplace like that, you'll actually be able to find a class list there, and you can actually look up all the people that are in your class, and you can search the names on LinkedIn and reach out to them as well. If for some reason you're having trouble finding a class list, you can also look at the discussions. So all of their names will be there as well. That's definitely one of my favorites to
Ooh,
start growing the network for sure.
that is very smart. I have never thought to do that. Good idea. Very cool. One of my favorite tips on LinkedIn is actually joining groups. So there are millions and millions of groups on LinkedIn for almost every single industry. And if you do not know this already, if you have not explored LinkedIn in depth, when you start exploring LinkedIn and you start trying to connect with people, you might notice that for a lot of people, you can't actually send them a full length message unless you're already connected with them. So that's why we have to make the most use of the 300 character note that we can send with a connection request. Sometimes people will have their profile messaging unlocked, so you can send them a full length message without being connected with them. But most people will have it locked, so you can't message them until they've accepted your connection request. However, if you join a group and the person is also part of that group, you automatically can send them a full length message because you're part of the same group. So I would definitely recommend joining groups for the industry that you're hoping to join. And there are groups out there for every single industry out there. Like there are so many groups. I am part of probably like 20 groups related to career development and career development professionals. Like there are so many out there. I'm part of some web development groups. And they get pretty specific as well. Like I'm part of groups specifically for front-end web developers, for back-end web developers, for career professionals who work for government agencies, career professionals that work in schools. Like there are so many out there and they get really specific. It's a fantastic way to grow your network. It's a fantastic way to talk with people as well because it unlocks free messaging. Any other tips to share, Laura, before we move on to questions?
Yeah, for sure. So just your headline is really important as well. It takes a lot of time, so don't be like worried if you're spending like half an hour or so like just trying to craft the perfect headline. It takes a lot of time. So it took me at least a half hour each time I did it, just like trying out different words, seeing how they sounded, how they fit. So that's definitely something to think about as well. And Keelan's profile was really good because you can show your personality on LinkedIn. So on your resume, you're more formal, but you can actually be a little more informal on LinkedIn. So like as Keelan was saying about the cats as well, like obviously all of her information is very like relevant to the field, but like a little something at the end to just show her character. It gets people's attention, right? So she was saying too, like people have emailed me about the cats. So I thought that was actually really fun too. So that's just something to think about.
Which I love. If somebody messages me about my cat on LinkedIn, they're guaranteed a response. All right. Thanks for the tips, Laura. Okay.
Perfect. So, yep, if you're looking for anyone to tell you exactly what you should be doing on LinkedIn to suit your job searching needs, Keelan and I are both job coaches or career coaches as well. So, you can always book appointments with us to get us to audit your LinkedIn page. We could do personalized videos from us. So, like basically what we're doing right now, you would have a one-on-one coaching session with us. It's tailored to a written checklist. So, basically anything that you want us to talk about, you let us know. So, what I recommend when anyone's booking a one-on-one coaching section is actually just to write out all of the questions you have so that we can try to get to as much as possible and you can get as much out of the session as you can.
Yeah, awesome. This LinkedIn one specifically also, so you do have the one-on-one booking where you can ask anything that you would like, including LinkedIn, including resumes, including interviewing. But if you're only interested in LinkedIn and you don't necessarily want to have a one-on-one chat, there's also just the LinkedIn audit where you basically send us the link to your LinkedIn profile and we send you a recorded video giving you feedback as well as a checklist. So you don't actually have to talk to us if you do not want to. If you want us to just record a video and send it over for you to send it over to you for you to watch, that is what the LinkedIn audit is. But like Laura said, Devon also all hosts one-on-one coaching where you can actually like come one-on-one in a Zoom call with us and ask us any questions that you would like, including LinkedIn, but also whatever else you're wondering about the job search. And Laura, actually, would you mind posting the link to the Devon Career Coach page so people know where they can go to book that if they're interested? Thank you. I would do it, but I would have to like hop over and then they'd all see what I was doing because I'm sharing my screen.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, and when Laura's doing that, I'll tell you about some upcoming live events at Devon. This is our final slide, so get your questions ready. The final 10 minutes will just be answering all of your questions. So if you have any questions, start putting them in the chat now. Next Wednesday is the Devon Career Cafe. This is our monthly virtual social. I think it is usually hosted by the wonderful Michelle and the wonderful Kate, who are both fantastic Devon employees. This happens monthly. Fantastic way to grow your network and start making connections on LinkedIn. It's very casual. It's not like a slide lecture like we've done this evening. It's just you join the Zoom room and you talk to each other. It's very fun, very casual. The Wednesday after that, on March 21st, is a workshop called How to Make the Most Out of an Online Job Fair. I will be there. I am not facilitating that workshop. I'm just moderating it. So I will be in the background, but I will be there. The March 22nd one is a live immigration Q&A with a Canadian immigration lawyer. So if any of you are newcomers to Canada or are looking to get PR in Canada or stay here permanently, this is a really, really good session to go to. For those of you who haven't booked with a lawyer before, they are expensive. So this live Q&A session with an immigration lawyer where you can ask them questions is a fantastic deal. March 28th is tax tips for international students. We're coming to tax season in April. I know that I got my T4 in the mail last week. So if you have any questions about filing taxes in Canada, this is a great session to go to. And then in April, on April 5th, we have an expert panel of people who work in supply chain. So if that is something that you're interested in, this is a great panel to go to hear first account experiences of people who work in the industry and ask them questions.
So we just have one question here, which is a very good one. So are there like other apps other than LinkedIn that can help you look for jobs effectively? The person says, I know there are plenty, but I know there are some that are much more effective than others. So one thing I would say just off the top is to actually go on the Devant portal and look through the things that we offer as well. Just like with the resumes, and there's things about networking and all that sort of thing. So I would definitely suggest that as well. Keelan, do you have any others?
Yeah, I think it depends on what type of app you're looking for. So are you looking for
Yeah,
more of like a social media app? Are you looking for a website to find jobs on? There's, like you said, there's tons out there, but if you let us know like specifically what you're hoping for it to do, let us know. In terms of social media, I would say LinkedIn is definitely the biggest one for professional networking and as like a social media job search site. I would say LinkedIn is definitely the biggest. There are some other ones that have tried to break through, but I don't think they have gotten there yet. I think most people are going to LinkedIn.
for sure. And yeah, it also depends on the industry, like Keelan was saying. So when I was a employment counselor at an employment counseling agency through Employment Ontario, we were actually getting a lot of posts also through Instagram, but that was for like customer service, things like that. So you can also find a lot there, but it does depend on the industry as well, for sure. But if you're looking for more like jobs that don't necessarily require post-secondary education, definitely Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and things like that are great resources too.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Yeah, I think people discount like things like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for job search, but I know tons of people who have like multiple Instagram profiles. They have like their personal one and then they have more of like a professional job search one that they use. Daniel, this is a fantastic question. So Daniel has seen companies that he'd like to work for on LinkedIn posting jobs, but not necessarily jobs that are relevant to his field or what he's hoping to get into. So Daniel is wondering if we can recommend how to reach out to these people to kind of be first in line for when they do post a role. I think that this is a fantastic idea. If you know that there is a specific company that you want to work for, definitely start reaching out sooner rather than later. So then when they are hiring, you will be first to come to mind. In terms of reaching out, I would just reach out and basically say what you just told us. Like, I'm really interested in working for this company. It looks like right now you're currently not hiring for any roles that I'm qualified for, but I just wanted to connect with you in case any more relevant roles come up in the future. I think that's a fantastic idea. So you can reach out to the recruiters, like the HR team and the hiring managers at that company, but you can also reach out to just people at that company who already have the job that you would want to have. So I tell my students all the time who are interested in a specific company to start connecting with developers and software engineers who work at that company and just basically say, hey, I'm a web developer. I'm really interested in working at your company. It looks like you're not hiring right now, but do you have 10 to 15 minutes to chat with me about what it's like to work there, just for the future in case you're hiring sometime soon? So do not be afraid to be proactive about your job search. Networking is really like planting seeds. Like planting the seed now, it might take a few months for the plant to start to grow and for your networking efforts to start to pay off. But definitely start planting the seeds as soon as you can. Laura, do you want to take
So we
that
got
next one?
another excellent question. Yes.
Sorry, we're on the same
So
wavelength.
yeah, no, we're there. So this is a really good question, and it's one that I think most of us have. So this person says, I've been applying on jobs that are exactly matching my profile. I've added everything that you told me in my profile. I don't know why I still am not getting calls from recruiters. Okay, so I understand. First of all, are you following the company on your LinkedIn profile? The next thing I would also say too is if you're actually applying and sending a resume and cover letter, is it based specifically and tailored to the company? So actually writing about why you want to work for that company specifically is really important. So I know sometimes like just adding those hard skills and being like, I'm so qualified to do all of these things. But if you actually take the time to go onto the website and say like, I really appreciate the values that your company holds, that's going to put you in a different level so that you're not just competing with the same people that have the same skills. You're a little more invested in the company. So it does take a little bit more time, but that's definitely something that's going to put you over the edge for sure. Reaching out to the people specifically too. I know those skills and everything, they get you so far, but sometimes it is like having to actually network a little bit further, which can be difficult. So I don't want to put any like ill will towards that because that's hard. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. I'm not sure about Keelan. I'm sure she has similar thoughts.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Laura. Basically, do not be afraid to reach out to the recruiters. Like, don't just sit there and wait for them to come to you. Do not be afraid to be the one to reach out to them. So you could use the search function on LinkedIn and type in name of the company you want to work for, followed by recruiter or followed by human resources. And don't be afraid to start connecting with and reaching out with those people. You don't have to sit there and wait for the recruiters to come to you. You can go to them and then, like Laura was saying, um, talk about like why you're interested in working for that company, grab their attention, let your passion come through.
Perfect. Now, I just wanted to bring everyone's attention to the follow-up question, which I think is fantastic. Um, This person says the cover letters are a bit generic. Do recruiters actually read those? And should I always follow companies on which I'm applying? Okay, so great question. Yes, a lot of companies actually won't even accept your resume without a cover letter. If your cover letter is generic, then that's going to be a big reason why you're not getting calls back because it should be based specifically on the job description for that job on that company. So what I was saying too is with the cover letter, just to like put you up over the edge, you want to say like, well, basically you want to do some investigating in the company, right? So you actually want to see like what are their values, what kind of skills do they want their employees to have, and you actually want to put those right in the cover letter, and they should be different every single time. So what I mean by that is that with every single company, the cover letter should be different, and it should be based on the values and the skills that that company wants. Okay, so you're always going to want to change it. I know sometimes it feels like, do cover letters even get read? They do. And they go through application tracking systems as well with your resume, which have keywords. So that's also going to be something that's going to put you farther ahead than others as well. So, Keelan, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I totally agree with you. If your cover letter is just like a generic copy and paste cover letter that you're sending out to everybody, it's going to be easy to ignore.
They're not going to
Um,
take it. Yeah.
put yourself in the position of somebody that's getting emails from a company. If you get like an email from a company that you know that company has sent out to like millions and millions of their customers, you're not going to respond to it, right? Versus if a company emails you and addresses you by name, asks you a specific question about like a recent purchase that you made, you're going to be much more likely to respond to it because you can tell that they took the time to write that email just for you. And it's the exact same thing with a cover letter. If you send an employer a copy and paste cover letter that you've sent to 100 different employers, it's going to be really easy for them to ignore because they can tell that you haven't put the time and effort into it. So they don't feel bad ignoring it.
So, like, one thing I would do too, just based on what Keelan is saying, is when you're applying to a job, know why you want to apply there, know why you want to apply to a company. So, that's also really important as well.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, we've got 1 more minute. Let's do real quick. Question, what are some common mistakes to avoid when using LinkedIn, and how can I make sure my activity on my platform is professional and appropriate? Common LinkedIn mistakes, I would say, are not optimizing your LinkedIn profile. So not filling out all of the sections of the profile that we've gone over tonight, having a blank headline, not having a photo of you, not customizing your banner, not filling out your about section. Those are all common mistakes. And then on the flip side of things, I would say another common mistake is not interacting with other people on LinkedIn. So sometimes people will have a phenomenal LinkedIn profile, a really strong portfolio, but they don't interact with anybody on LinkedIn. They don't connect with anybody. They don't like anybody's posts. They don't comment on anybody's posts. And I would say that is another way that you can really get noticed and grab attention on LinkedIn is by interacting with others. Okay, friends, it is 8 o'clock. You've been listening to us talk for over an hour now. I am so happy that you joined us this evening. I hope you found it valuable. I hope to see you at another Devon event sometime in the future. If you'd like to work with either of us one-on-one, please do not hesitate to reach out to Devon and book one of those one-on-one sessions with us. And if you would like to get a personalized LinkedIn audit, you can also book that as well, and one of us would be happy to do that for you. All right, don't forget to add us on LinkedIn. We will be happy to accept, and we hope to chat with y'all soon. Have a great evening, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Bye.